Okay, so we're going to wrap up chapter 10. Okay, we're going to need to spend more time on the treadmill, that's for sure. I was disappointed. No more running, but I turned obediently when Maya tugged on the leash, and we headed back home. It seemed that Maya's house really was home now. I began to understand it that night. I stretched out on the living room rug while Maya took a bath and changed into different, softer clothing. Then she called me into her bedroom. "Okay, lie down here, Ellie. Good girl," she said, patting a dog bed. I knew about dog beds. I curled up in it at once, and Maya praised me before she lay down in the big bed above me. But I was confused. Would I be staying here for a while? I remembered how I once lived in the basement with Mother and my litter mates, and then I had lived with Jacob. Had things changed again? Did I live here now? But what about Jacob? Wasn't he going to come back this time? I had waited patiently. He'd always come back before, but this time, was it going to be different? And what about my work? How could I do work without Jacob? The next morning, I found out. What do you think she found out? Maya took me in her car, and we went back to the park where I'd gone so often with Jacob. Wally was there, and he greeted me like an old friend. Belinda had come too. She smiled and scratched my ears in just the right way. Then she waved and walked off into the woods while Wally stayed to talk to Maya. I knew a lot of the words he used when he talked with her, come and find and show me, but he wasn't saying them to me, so it didn't seem as though I were supposed to do anything. I lay down and put my head on my paws, sighing with impatience. Wasn't I going to get to do any work? Then Maya said something exciting. "Ellie, find!" I jumped up. Yes, work, at last! I quickly sniffed the grass and picked up a trail. It was Belinda's. She smelled like coffee and a tangy perfume and sugar from the donut she'd been eating. I followed the trail, running quickly just for the pleasure of it. Wally and Maya followed. Belinda was sitting inside a car. If she'd been hoping to fool me that way, no luck. I circled back to Maya. See now, see how she looks, Wally said. She found Belinda, you can tell by her expression. I waited impatiently for Maya to tell me to show, but she and Wally were too busy talking. I could have barked with impatience, but I knew better. It was hard to wait, though. It had been so long since I'd found anyone. I wanted to finish the job. I'm not sure, Maya said. She doesn't look much different than the other time she came back. Look at her eyes, the way her mouth is tightened, Wally told Maya. Her tongue's not out, see? She's on alert. She has something to show us. At the word show, I started to lunge forward, but then I pulled myself back. It hadn't really been a command, but why not? Why weren't we doing our jobs? So what do you think's going on here? Why do you think Maya doesn't seem to be able to understand what Ellie is telling her? So now I tell her to show? Maya asked. I whined, quit teasing me. Were we working or not? Show, Maya finally called. Yes, at last I tore off across the park, and Maya hurried along behind me. Belinda came out of the car laughing when we found her. Such a good dog, Ellie, she told me. Now you play with Ellie, Wally said to Maya. It's important. It's her reward for such hard work. Maya took something out of her pocket, the rubber bone from the kennel. I leaped to grab it with my teeth. She laughed as she tugged on the bone, and I pulled back, swinging her in a circle on the grass. It was different from the times Jacob had played with me. He'd done it because he had to. It was part of work. Maya was smiling even when I pulled the bone out of her hand and she almost fell to the grass. You're so strong, Ellie, she gasped, and laughed some more. Good girl, Ellie. She petted me and scratched my neck, and we played a little more of tug-of-war with the bone before we got back to work. It was different doing work with Maya, but it was still work, and that was the most important thing. Okay, well, that's the end of Chapter 10. That's what we were supposed to read over the weekend. So hopefully you're enjoying it, and I'm definitely asking myself, I wonder what happened to Jacob. We know he was injured. It doesn't seem like he was able to come back quickly, so maybe he has a severe injury and he's recovering, or possibly maybe he passed away or died. I'm not sure. I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping he's just in the hospital recovering. So it sounds like Maya is a police officer, but maybe not a police officer that works with dogs. So let's see. Okay.